Israel could be looking at targeting Iran's state TV headquarters. So that's something you talk a lot about, the information warfare that's happening. So Iranians still trust their national TV a lot more than other countries. How effective would such an attack be if they do strike Iran's state TV headquarters?
First of all, if they attack the state TV headquarters, they're attacking a civilian target. And I'm not convinced that the story here is Iran at all, because what's really interesting is how the world's going to respond to Israel. Israel attacking nuclear warheads, everybody can support that. And Israel attacking military targets, everybody can support that. To a certain extent, I think people are looking past the fact that Israel's also attacking and killing civilians through political assassination, like the engineers and the scientists that we've talked about. But if Israel starts to just launch and blow up infrastructure that has to do with media, that's not a military target. Remember how the world responded when Russia started targeting energy facilities in Ukraine, and they started calling that a war crime, and they started calling that a step too far or some sort of non-military target. Russia at least could stand on the fact that Ukraine was using the energy infrastructure to launch counterattacks against Russia. There's no way that you can say that a TV channel is being used to militarily launch counterattacks against a military target. So the question becomes, how will the world react to Israel's choices in this conflict against Iran?
What's funny was I was doing the interview with Scott Ritter. We could start seeing, we were looking together at the missiles landing in Israel as we were speaking. It's just a surreal moment. I want to go back to the discussion we had earlier about how Israel was able to conduct those operations. We know and this might include some speculation, but I'm just really fascinated by it. When it comes to the Hezbollah pagers, what we know, and I'm not sure if any information came out afterwards, is that they went all the way back to the manufacturer. Don't know how they got those information, but hey, it is Mossad. And then they planted a device within the pagers at the manufacturing level, and then they let it continue flowing through to Hezbollah. Instead of sabotaging the manufacturer, let it flow through with these devices, those detonatable devices to make them all detonate. And then that's how they were able to detonate all the pagers for Hezbollah. Now, for Iran, what I'm really fascinated by is two things. The first one is how they were able to target all those military commanders. How difficult is it for an intelligence like the CIA, where you've worked, or like Mossad, to be able to geolocate so many commanders at the same time, with Hezbollah and with Iran? Does that mean they've got spies within the Iranian military leadership? Does that mean, is there a way to kind of track them through digital means? And the second one is, how are they able to have those trucks drive into Iran? I know Iran's got a pretty massive border, but is that a difficult operation as well?
So, two great questions. The answer to your first question about the fidelity of targeting down to an individual level and whether or not that's how difficult that is. In the digital era, it's surprisingly not hard to identify a target down to within approximately 1/2 of 1 meter of where they are at any given time. It depends on whether or not you have what's known as a unique selector. A selector is essentially like your cell phone. Your cell phone number is a selector. Your email address is a selector. There are certain metadata that's carried on your laptop, on your internet, on cellular devices, on your tablet, that identify you as a unique user. So then what is actually happening is they're not targeting the individual, they're targeting the hardware. So they're targeting the actual device that's transmitting the signal that they're able to geolocate. So much of intelligence is spent identifying and collecting selectors so that when you need to target that individual with high fidelity, you'll know where they are. Whether you need to target them for a kinetic strike, like we're talking about with Israel, or whether you need to target them for a human operation because you need someone to bump them, or someone to seduce them, or someone to extract information, you always want to know where that person is. And we live in an era where you can do that. You can do that with just commercial technology. That's how advertisers get onto your phone as well. They geo-target you as a specific user based on your selectors. So is it difficult to collect that information? No, but it is difficult to carry out kinetic strikes when you have that information, because now you have to send high fidelity armaments in to actually strike the target, and strike the target where they are. There's always a risk for collateral damage. Maybe the cell phone is in the house, but the owner is in the backyard. So if you strike the house, you may not actually hit the backyard if you're using a highly targetable device. So there's always risk associated with it. The second question that you had about driving trucks across the Iranian border, this is a two-part challenge, right? First, borders are very difficult to police. That's why you see debates all around the world about how much people can and can't control immigration. The United States is trying to build walls because it understands that the border is very porous. The same thing is true, especially along coastline. You live in Dubai, think about how much coastline in Dubai is not actively policed, right? How much coastline could anybody just sail a small sailboat up to and dock the sailboat somewhere, park the sailboat at anchor, and take a little dinghy, and they can walk right into the downtown Dubai without going through immigration, without anybody even knowing that they're there. The same thing is true for desert border, and a desert border is a lot of what Iran has to deal with. So could somebody get through a porous border? Absolutely. And Iran isn't a very wealthy country. It's not like it has a large border patrol, border protective service. So getting across the border may not be as difficult as people think. Being able to even get across the border and stay there for an extended period of time to build a drone launch facility is not beyond the realm of realistic.